Welcome back to the deep dive. Usually when we cover a book, we're talking about ideas, a theory, a few stats.
Right, an argument.
But today it's different. We are looking at something the author doesn't even call a book. He calls it a war manual.
That's a strong way to put it.
It is. And if you've been feeling like the ground under your feet has just shifted at work, in dating, just society in general, in a way that feels hostile to logic and, frankly, to men, then this is the signal you've been waiting for.
It's certainly the most aggressive text we've covered in a while.
Absolutely. But before we get into the trenches, a quick heads up. The algorithm hates this topic. It really does.
Oh, for sure.
So if you want to keep getting these breakdowns, you have to hit that like and subscribe button right now. Don't let the feed bury this.
It's important.
Okay, so the source material today is Unhinged Female Supremacy. All Women Are on the BPD Spectrum and Pushing for Communism by Conrad Riker.
And that's the title.
It is a title we're going to cover a lot, but this is a dense diagnostic tool. So if what we discuss resonates, you need to go to Amazon Kindle or Google Play Books and buy the full ebook. We're giving you the map. Riker gives you the terrain.
And you can follow him at Conrad Riker on Substack to see how this analysis, evolves in real time.
Right. So let's get into it. Unhinged Female Supremacy. It's not subtle.
No, and Riker would say subtlety is a luxury we just can't afford anymore. His central thesis is that Western civilization hasn't just drifted left.
Okay.
We tend to think of these things as slow, organic changes. Riker says no.
Oh.
The West has been hijacked.
Hijacked by who? Or what?
Not just by a political party, but by a specific psychology. He argues that the dominant operating system of our society now, wokeness, progressivism, HR culture, is female-coded to its very core.
Female-coded. That's a massive claim. I mean, we always hear we live in a patriarchy, that men run everything. How does he square that circle?
Well, he argues that while men might still hold some of the old seats of power, the rules of the game have completely changed.
How so?
We've moved from a society based on the rule of law, which, implies objective truth, merit, logic, to what he calls a maternal state.
The maternal state.
A state governed by emotion, by safetyism, and this is the core of it, by traits that mirror a specific pathology. Borderline personality disorder, BPD.
So he's saying the government is acting like a girlfriend with BPD.
In a way, yes, but it's much deeper. This is the ideology as pathology section. He isn't just throwing insults. He's layering a clinical diagnosis over political behavior.
So it's not a philosophy.
He claims modern leftism isn't a philosophy born of reason. It's a maternal fantasy that demands the world reorganize itself to manage its own emotional volatility.
Okay, let's break that down. The BPD spectrum. What are the specific traits he's actually seeing in society?
Well, there are three main ones he really focuses on. The first is identity disturbance.
Meaning?
In a clinical setting, someone with BPD has a really unstable sense of self. They just mirror whoever they're with. Riker points to the modern culture of current thing activism.
Yeah.
You see these influencers or even huge corporate brands pivoting from trad wife aesthetics to polyamorous anarchists to witch in just a few months.
Right. It's that thing where the profile picture changes to the flag of the month, the bio has the new slogan, but there's no actual principle underneath. It's just wind.
Exactly. It's a desperate need for external validation because there is no internal core.
Yeah.
The second trait is fear of abandonment.
Yeah, okay.
In a relationship, this looks like a partner threatening self-harm if you try to leave. In politics, Riker says it manifests as this intense, rage-filled reaction to dissent.
So if you disagree...
It's not a difference of opinion, it's a betrayal. It triggers a split.
And splitting, that's the third one, the black and white thinking.
Correct.
Yeah.
In BPD, people are either idealized as perfect angels or devalued as total devils. There is no gray.
And in our institutions.
Riker argues they now divide the world strictly into infants and predators. Infants are the designated victims. Women, minorities, anyone under that marginalized umbrella. They have no agency, so they can do no wrong. They need total protection.
And the predators.
That's the competent man, the man who values merit, hierarchy, truth. In this worldview, his very competence is a threat. If he's not an infant needing protection, he must be a predator who needs to be punished.
It's a total catch-22. You can't win. If you succeed, you're an oppressor. If you fail, you're privileged anyway.
Exactly.
But Riker goes further. He talks about emotional reasoning. This part really stood out. The quote is, "If she feels it, it's real. If he denies it, he's guy."
And that is the absolute core of the shift from objective truth to subjective lived experience. Riker argues that in the maternal state, Feelings are now treated as facts.
So if a woman feels unsafe,
That feeling is treated as direct evidence of danger, even if there's no actual danger present.
he brings up that University of Wisconsin story. I mean,
Yeah.
that sounds insane. What actually happened there?
So according to Riker's account, a male student was in a debate. He wasn't yelling, wasn't physically aggressive, he just used logic and dismantled an argument from a female student. He won. And she claimed she felt unsafe because of his, let's call it, intellectual intensity.
She felt unsafe because she was losing the argument.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
And the university's response wasn't toughen up, it's a debate. They actually removed the male student.
You're kidding.
They prioritized her subjective anxiety over his objective right to speak. And Riker pairs this with a Harvard study noting that women report feeling unsafe 3.2 times more often than men, often in places that are statistically completely secure.
That's the weaponization right there. You take a biological difference in anxiety levels and you make it law. If feeling unsafe is grounds for punishment, you've just handed one group a superweapon.
And that weapon gets deployed most often in one place, human resources.
Hmm.
Riker calls this section institutional capture, and he calls HR her reign.
Her reign. That's good. But is it just a clever name or is there data behind it?
Oh, the data is stark. He cites stats that HR departments are somewhere between 73 and 87% female. But it's not just the gender ratio, it's the method of control. He introduces a concept he calls GSR.
Gossip, shame, rally.
Right. He defines it as covert relational aggression. You know, men typically compete through direct confrontation. I challenge you, we see who wins.
Sure.
Riker argues the female mode of warfare is different. It's reputation destruction, whispering campaigns, social exclusion.
It sounds like he's describing a high school clique, but with the power to get you fired.
That's his exact analogy.
Say.
High school cliques with budgets. The mechanism is the rally. You gossip to pick a target, you shame them for breaking some social norm, usually a tone violation, not a real policy, and then you rally the group to expel them.
He gives that Google engineer example. This guy makes a pretty neutral scientific comment about biological differences in interests.
And gets completely nuked, fired,
Yeah.
publicly shamed. The rally was instant.
Contrast that with the other story he tells about the female executive.
At the same company, caught stealing a significant amount of office supplies. But she wasn't fired. She was promoted to director of inclusion.
Wait, where?
Riker says it proves the system isn't about rules anymore. It's about in-group versus out-group. The engineer was an out-group male using logic. The executive was an in-group female.
This connects to tone policing. I've seen this. A man gets direct, he's aggressive. A woman starts screaming or crying, she's passionate or traumatized.
That's the double bind. Male aggression is criminalized. Female emotional incontinence is celebrated. And this creates what he calls the diversity industry. He points to the NHS in the UK. They hired 11,000 diversity officers.
11,000.
11,000. While they were cutting doctors and nurses because of budget problems, he tells this story about a diversity officer at a gender euphoria retreat in Ibiza, paid for by taxpayers, while cancer patients were on waiting lists.
That's terrifying when you apply it to something like healthcare.
Riker's point is that the system now prioritizes the feelings of the staff over the actual function of the organization.
Which brings us to where this hits home for a lot of guys. The legal system. If HR is the office police, the family court is the police force of the home. He calls this legal asymmetry.
He argues the rule of law has been totally replaced by the maternal state in the courtroom. The premise is simple. Infantilize women, demonize men. Women are treated like kids who can't be held accountable, and men are treated like defective wallets,
The divorce stats are pretty damning. Women initiate 70% of divorces.
but receive the vast majority of alimony and child support. He calls it a business model.
And he looks at Sweden as a kind of cautionary tale.
Right, with their no-fault divorce on steroids. Riker describes a mass male exodus over there. Men are stripped of their assets, lose their kids, and get taxed into the ground to support the very state that replaced them. He links it directly to rising male suicide rates.
There's a biological component he brings up too, which I had never heard of. The weaponization of tears.
This is the Israeli study. It's fascinating. Researchers found that female tears actually contain chemical pheromones.
Seriously?
Yes, and when men smell them, it biologically reduces their testosterone and lowers aggression in the brain.
So it's not just I feel bad because she's crying. It's an actual chemical hack.
It's a biological override switch. Exactly. And he argues this is used tactically in courtrooms. A woman cries on the stand, and the male judge, the jury, they all get hit with this chemical signal to protect and surrender. Evidence just goes out the window,
The female default victim narrative takes over.
which leads directly to the believe all women dogma and the use of restraining orders as tactical nukes.
The ex parte orders.
Exactly. Ex parte means the man doesn't even have to be there. She claims she felt unsafe. There's that phrase again. And a judge can kick a man out of his own house. No conviction, not even a hearing. He's suddenly homeless and fighting from a massive deficit.
And once you're out of the house, you're out of your kids' lives. It's a cascade. Now, Riker doesn't just stop at the law, he follows the money. He calls it the emasculation economy.
This is his economic theory of the whole thing. He breaks it down simply.
Yeah.
Men produce the foundational value.
Roads, power, code, the hard stuff.
Exactly. The dangerous, dirty, high-stress jobs. But who spends all the money?
Women, the vibe economy.
Women control 70 to 80% of all consumer spending. So Riker argues corporations don't really care about men. They market to the people with the purse strings. Corporate policy, advertising, everything is geared toward female psychology.
That explains why every dad in a commercial is a bumbling idiot and the mom is the competent CEO of the household.
Precisely. It's not just moral wokeness, it's a cynical capitalist strategy. He calls it the vibe economy because it's based on aesthetics and feelings, not utility. He jokes about girl math, but then says it's basically how the government runs now,
Grants for womb space cafes.
while the productive male industries get taxed to death to pay for it all.
And the really scary part is what this does to actual competence. He calls it the death of merit.
Yeah, we're seeing standards lowered across the board in medicine, engineering, aviation, just to force equity. He mentions Harvard Medical School lowering MCAT thresholds, Norway letting women into engineering programs with way lower grades.
His line is killer. Bridges don't care about your pronouns.
Exactly. Gravity's the ultimate patriarch. It doesn't care about your feelings. If you replace competence with equity, people are going to die.
And before the bridges even fall down, the dating market has already collapsed. We have to talk about his section on the sexual marketplace. He uses the term parasitic mating strategy.
He's describing a dynamic where relationships have become purely transactional. He argues a lot of modern women view men as resources, not partners. You have the orbiters,
The guys who pay for dinner and help with tuition.
who are kept around to be useful, but are never actually let in. And then there's monkey branching.
Right. Don't let go of one branch till you have a firm grip on the next higher one.
He argues that's the modern strategy. Extract resources from one guy while you're actively looking for his higher status replacement. The dating apps just pour gasoline on this.
He cites the data that women swipe right on only 15% of men.
It creates a mating monopoly. The top few percent of men get all the attention, and the vast majority of decent, hardworking guys are basically invisible.
So what happens? Men are just opting out. The silence of the men.
It's the only logical reaction to a rigged game. He talks about MGTOW men going their own way, not as some political movement, but as a pure survival instinct. Why would you play a game where the cost of entry is potential financial ruin and losing your kids?
And he mentions the double standard. If men try to organize.
It's labeled terrorism. He points out that Canada has labeled some men's rights groups as extremist, but if women riot, it's passionate resistance. It's that BPD splitting again.
Okay, so the diagnosis is bleak. The system's rigged. Institutions captured. What is the solution? What's the path back? He's not telling you to go vote harder, is he?
No, not at all. He's very clear. The old institutions are dead. You can't fix HR. You can't vote your way out of family court. His strategy is one word: exodus.
Just walk away.
Build parallel institutions. He lists ideas like Stoic health clinics for men, by men, Stoic coders, boot camps, men's classical academies. He argues men need to take their labor, their genius, their resources, and just leave the burning building.
It's about rejecting the emotional blackmail. I think that's the hardest part for a lot of guys. We're wired to want to fix things, to protect.
And Riker says that very instinct is being used as a weapon against you. He urges men to stop apologizing for existing, stop validating the victimhood narratives. When someone says, "I feel unsafe," because you're speaking logic, don't apologize. Recognize it as the manipulation tactic it is.
He talks about reconnecting with unbroken fatherhood, becoming a builder.
That's the end goal. Men have to become builders again, but refuse to serve a system that actively hates them. Riker predicts that this system is actually incredibly fragile.
How so?
It relies entirely on male compliance and male guilt. The second men stop feeling guilty and stop providing the labor that keeps the lights on, the whole maternal state collapses on itself. It can't survive without its host.
Wow. Refuse to serve a system that hates you. That is a powerful place to end. It's not about aggression, it's about self-respect.
And it leaves you with a really serious question. If the Exodus happens, what does the world look like in 20 years? And are you going to be standing in the rubble of the old world or helping build a new one?
That is the question. Look, we have covered so much ground here: the BPD spectrum, HR, the legal system, the vibe economy. But I am telling you, the book has so much more. The historical examples, the legal citations, we couldn't fit it all in.
If you want the full arsenal of arguments, you really need the source text.
Exactly. The book is Unhinged Female Supremacy by Conrad Riker. If you are ready to finally unplug, go to Amazon Kindle, go to Google Play Books, and buy it. Right now. Do not wait. This is the kind of information that sometimes disappears. You know what I mean?
And join the conversation.
Yeah.
The Substack is at Conrad Riker. There's a whole community of men there who are already building these things.
Don't just listen to this and go back to your routine. Wake up. Read the manual. And finally, if you got value from this deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share this with a friend who needs to hear it. Send it to that buddy dealing with HR or going through a divorce. Give him the signal. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next deep dive.